in the last 62 years, half the time we have been ruled by military, and half the time by these two families. They've ruled us. So I'm the first time it's a new party has come up, and I feel that days of military ruling Pakistan are over. I think there's a consensus in the country that even a poor democratic government is better than a military government, because what happens is that when the military intervention takes place, we go back to square one. We then again have to start our evolution as a democracy.
At the moment, do you have any indication from foreign governments that they would support you returning to power?
Mark, I don't want any support from foreign governments to get into power. I want free and fair elections. Let the people of Pakistan decide whoever they think is best to govern the country. Mark, I've also been very privileged. I've had more love and respect in my country than hardly any other Pakistani. So my contribution to my society would be just that which I started my politics 26 years ago. And I have to say I was inspired by, when I first went to England as a teenager, the two things that inspired me about England: rule of law and a welfare state. And later on, when I studied my own history, the first welfare state in the history of mankind was made by our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the first state of Medina. This is exactly what he did. And these are exactly the principles which I set out 26 years ago. This is what I want in Pakistan. My biggest struggle has been that the ruling elite, these two families that have ruled Pakistan for 30 years, they refuse to come under the rule of law. The prosperous states always have rule of law. And that is the reason why you liberate the potential of a society. So the big difference is rule of law. And that's really my mission.
Imran Khan, thank you so much for joining us on India Now.
Well, yes. On 7th of March, the US Under Secretary of State, Donald Lu, he meets our ambassador in Washington and actually threatens him that unless Imran Khan, is removed through a vote of no confidence, there'll be consequences for Pakistan. And if I'm removed, then all will be forgiven. Now, this is this American official threatening our ambassador. An ambassador in an official meeting. Minutes were taken. He sends this cipher, which I see, this coded message, which I see, and then suddenly our allies and 20 of our members of my party start jump ship. So all we want is an inquiry into this, because we feel there is blatant evidence of regime change.
The State Department have denied they push for regime change. If what you're saying is true, why would they have denied it?
Well, I think it'll be extremely embarrassing. The State Department clearly, or this Under-Secretary, Donald Lu, clearly did not think this would become public.
Elections are scheduled for next year. If you are so confident of your re-election, why not just wait for those elections?
Mark, this is insulting for a country of 220 million people, that an elected Prime Minister is removed by this conspiracy. And we know what the conspiracy was. Let me just say, Pakistan is not the first country where the regime change by the US has taken place. Mark, knowing the aftermath of the coronavirus, it disrupted all supplies, and there was this commodity super cycle. Prices went up, inflation went up all over the world. So my government had very delicately balanced all this, and we managed to keep the prices down, and the sentiment was good because our industrial growth and our agricultural growth was going very well. So when this regime change took place, the market lost confidence. So what we are watching right now is a meltdown Our currency has lost almost 10% of its value. Stock exchange has crashed. Prices have gone through the roof. Inflation is now about 30%. The country is facing challenges right now.
You've led several protests over the past few weeks. What exactly are you trying to achieve? Are you not concerned that the protests will add to a sense of chaos?
Well, the chaos was when, Mark, this what we call the US-backed regime change took place in Pakistan. So my government was replaced by a government, 60% of the cabinet is on bail. These two families have been ruling Pakistan for 30 years. So my government was the first time we replaced this two-party system and we came into power. Now, the parties that were fighting, contesting against each other, both have joined hands and are in government. But they're facing massive corruption cases. And so what has happened is that these people have come into power, rather than having a roadmap to fix the economy, all they're doing is trying to get rid of their corruption cases of billions of rupees. So they are completely incapable of handling it. All we want is, we just want elections. We want free and fair elections.
There's lots of Pakistani Australians watching tonight. Do you have a message for the diaspora?
The biggest support, actually, since this regime change in Pakistan took place, it's never happened before that all the Pakistanis, when we have almost 9 million Pakistanis diaspora living in different countries, and never has it happened that they turned out in such large numbers to support us, to support me. It's never happened, because normally when there's a regime change, there's celebration in Pakistan. People distribute sweets. This is the only time that people came out, and millions of people within the country and Pakistanis outside came out to protest. And so I consider finally that I consider the overseas Pakistanis living in Australia, they are one of our greatest assets.